state your name for the record?
Joshua Palmer Ehrenfeld.
And who is the bride to be?
Rayna Jill Shog Backman.
And the date of the wedding is?
October 19th, 2013.
Awesome. And how old were you when you met Rayna?
About 15 months. No, I was actually 15 years old. 15 years old, just about a junior in high school.
Wow. And how did you guys meet?
Well, fortunately for me, I have very good friends, and one of my still closest friends to this day, Eli Itzkowitz, he had a good friend that he was trying to introduce to one of his friends because he was trying to make himself a date, and so Rayna was presented with the option of a gentleman with a rather large, proboscis, as it were, or a gentleman who was rather annoying. And fortunately for me, and hopefully fortunately for her, she chose, I guess, annoying, and that's really where it all started.
Wow, and what was your first date?
Well, I guess if you count that as the first time we ever met, one of our first dates, I guess it depends on what you define as a date.
Well, I know you guys were 15, but what was a date back then like?
A lot of time at the mall. Spent a lot of time at the mall. Definitely a good time for those people who can't drive and get dropped off by their parents. Thanks, Mom. But I would say one of our first dates was at the bowling alley, and I do remember this specifically because I remember hearing after the fact on the instant messenger, which was popular at the time, that she was really upset that I didn't kiss her. In fact, all I would do was give her the old 5 digits there. High five.
Yes, I remember those days.
Yeah. Times have changed, but not that much.
What drew you to Rayna?
I'm not really sure. I mean, she's really attractive, obviously. Her personality was one that, especially at that time, especially in regards to the way that she's outgoing and personable and likable, and that, as over time she's calmed down just a little bit, I think that she is the most phenomenal person that I've ever met, and I can tell you that the things that drew me to her back then are the same things that draw me to her now. Is her personality, her beauty, and just like the overall way that she handles everything.
And so I know you guys obviously then have been together for quite a long time, if we're talking from 15 until now. Over those years, what would you say is one of your most special memories of Rayna?
That is an excellent question. Excellent question. I wish I had a little more time to prepare. Well, I loved the time. I loved the times that we spent together when we were in college, because when we spent so much more time apart in between times when we got to spend time together, it meant that much more. A lot of special times, especially at Marist. Her college wasn't always the most fun place to go on the weekends, especially when I could get away. But I remember one time in particular that was very, very special to me, and that will always stick with me, is when I came back from one of my very first races in college, when I was a rower. I saw her car in the parking lot where they dropped us off after the race was over, because she had no idea where the athletic building was, even though I had shown her a million times. But I was not expecting her. And so even though I knew that she was going to be waiting for me when I got to the top of the hill, when I got back to my dorm, she surprised the hell out of me, and it was awesome. It really meant a lot to me.
Wow, that's really nice. I know Rayna loves to dance, and
Yes,
anyone that knows her well knows she loves to dance.
Mm-hmm.
What is one of your favorite dance moves of hers?
Some people in the crowd right now are going to be familiar with the Rockville Grind. That's as much as I'm going to say about that.
Okay.
You guys, you know what it is. But I'm not going to tell you what move I think is my favorite of hers. What I will tell you is my favorite thing about her dancing and her abilities is when my good friend Matthew Warner gets a couple of adult beverages in him and thinks that he all of a sudden has some sort of hip-hop music dance training, and he always challenges my sweet, beautiful, and normally very innocent fiance to a hip-hop dance-off. Now, for any of you who do know Rayna, like Elise was saying, Rayna is a phenomenal dancer, but specifically hip-hop dancing. And there have been many a times up at Sid's camp, there have been many a times out in the clubs in Hartford and Boston and New York where she has taught Matt over and over and over again who is the hip-hop king / queen, the ruler of our group of people.
And that's Rayna.
Of course it is, of course. Who else?
And I know from time to time you cook for Rayna, in which she enjoys and shares. Which dish that you prepare is her favorite?
Well, I've used a lot of different recipes, and God bless her, she, I think she's gotten to the point now where she will tell me that she loves everything that I make her. But what I do know 100%, her favorite thing that I make her is she loves crab cakes. What I think is a little bit unfortunate, as somebody who does consider himself a bit of a foodie, is that she loves crab cakes more than she loves crab meat. So a lot of times when we go out to restaurants that have really good crab cakes, that most people would consider very good because they have a lot of crab meat in them, she does not care for. So when I make them at home, I use a lot of breadcrumbs, a lot of seasonings, a lot of extra ingredients, and that's definitely her favorite thing that I make for her.
And bringing it back to the current issue at hand, your wedding.
Ah, yes.
The big question, how did you propose?
This is actually sort of a terrible story, but I think because of the fact that it didn't really go the way I wanted it to, it makes it a little bit sort of more special. So I've been planning this for weeks. For those of you guys out there who are really, really familiar with me to the point where you know how well, I like to, how I like to procrastinate when I do things, but I can tell you this honestly and truly that I planned when I wanted to propose months in advance, and I spent a lot of time in the jewelry store trying to pick out the perfect ring for her. Now that part I actually was really getting into and was actually sort of easy for me. However, once I decided to do it, I got really nervous, and I can't really explain why. Because I mean, it's Rayna, it's me. It's been 10 years. It had already been 10 years at that point. Oh, almost 10 years actually at that point. And of course it was gonna be a yes, but I couldn't explain it. But I was just terrified as soon as I came back. I visited my brother for the weekend, sort of our last unofficial hurrah weekend, because he knew that I was proposing, but of course she didn't. So I visited him in New York, and on my way back, my plan was to propose once we had gone on vacation down in Westerly, Rhode Island, or was it Watch Hill? I think it was Watch Hill. We were out there, and we were in a hotel, and we were going to go out to dinner, and I was going to propose, and I was going to make it all nice. But then I realized that my favorite thing to do is surprise Rayna. That's my favorite thing to do. I used to go and do it in college all the time. I would try to, every chance I get, I would surprise her. And so I got back to my mom's house where I was hiding the ring, because of course if I left it here, I'm sure that she would have found it wherever I had left it. So I got to my mom's house, and she gave me the best piece of advice I think that she'd ever given me in my entire life, and I kept telling her how nervous I was, and she said, well, just do it. I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, just do it right now. Just go home and do it. I said, well, why would I do that? It's just sort of not... She's like, well, if the most important part is the surprise to you, and how special it's going to make her feel once the surprise really kicks her and really hits her and sets in, then just do it right now, because if you wouldn't do it right now, then she'll never expect you to do it right now. And I said, you're absolutely right. So I grabbed the ring, I sped home, and in the car, I sort of shakily and very manically grabbed the ring from the center console and thought quickly on how I was going to do it. And so I told myself, and I even gave myself right up until the moment of contact, I said, if the door is locked to the apartment, then I'll wait, because then that means that she won't have been here, and I won't be able to do it the way that I'm planning to do it. So I was even ready to stop and wait till the next week, up until the very last second. However, what I did was I put my bag down in the hallway, and I made sure the door was unlocked, because I could tell that she was on the phone in the bedroom. I could hear her going off and talking to somebody. Could have been you, actually. Not really sure. I knocked on the door, and she came to the door. It took maybe, I don't know, 30 seconds for a full minute of knocking for her to get over there. And I was waiting there on one knee with the ring box open. And that's it. And she sort of just stared at me. Like for, I don't know, way longer than I would have liked, to be honest.
Did it make you nervous?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you know, like I said, I was already nervous, and what am I going to say? You know what I mean? I was already nervous sort of irrationally, and for her to just stand there and stare at me and not say anything and not be like freaking out and screaming yes, 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 or whatever, you know, it was, yeah, okay, it was a little scary. But it was definitely sort of a gradual set-in because she sort of was like, "Are you serious? Are you, and it sort of went from, it was actually sort of one of those things, you would think that she was going through all the steps of a tragedy, of something that happened, you know, denial, grief, or anger, whatever all those steps are. She sort of stood there and did nothing, and then she got really, really happy, and then she started calling people, and then she started crying uncontrollably for like at least an hour. And it was just sort of a huge roller coaster of emotions after that. Obviously the high, you know, on the high side of the roller coaster, no bad ones, but that was it. Like I said, sort of a terrible story. Nothing overly romantic. Nothing really all that special about it, except for the surprise part. So that was my favorite.
And the bigger question: are you looking forward to being married to Rayna?
I am. I really, really am. Living with her in 100% honesty, you know, with all you guys here, I feel like we're all family now. But just to be 100% honest, living together was a huge step for us. Like I said before, I loved when she would visit in college, but there were times when we would have conflicts and we would sort of butt heads and we would be in very small quarters together, and those times did make me think and make me wonder, are we going to be able to function together when we start living together, you know, down the road, and it's just the two of us and we've got our own place, and things have never been better. And once I realized that was the way things were going to be, and that's the way things were, you know, 2 years in, whatever, I think about that point, living together, I realized that there was never going to be a problem, and that we had it going. We're like a well-oiled machine. We just work together. So.
And you love each other.
Well, of course we love each other. That's what I was saying. The part I was talking about was the living together part. That's, I mean, as I'm sure most of you guys out there who are married understand, living together can be totally different than being in love and being in a relationship with people that you're not living with. So making sure that part worked was an enormous relief to me, on top of the fact that we were already totally in love with each other.
Aww.
And the love honestly helped us carry through a lot of the times, because we did get in arguments. I won't tell you guys we didn't, but you know, obviously when love's the backbone of it, it carries you through everything, so it doesn't really make a difference what happens.
And you love each other.
And we love each other. Why are you saying it like that?
Well, since yesterday was the 4-month pre-anniversary.
The only reason I'm so sure about this is obviously, Rayna, thank you, and you'll remember this because it was 4 months ago, would not stop reminding me that it's 4 months away.
Yes.
Now, I think that 4 months is a fine time distance away to get excited, but I do think it's rather arbitrary. So, while I was excited, I'm much more excited. You know, I'll be much more excited once the day comes.
Yes. Well, I wish you both the best of luck in continuing your preparation for that special day.
I wish you the best in your continuing preparation.
Oh, thank you.
For the big upcoming day.
Congratulations.